Freemasonry and pop culture. I was looking back at the ones we've done so far. So we did The Simpsons, Homer the Great. We did Psych.
That movie you liked, Into Hell or something like that?
From Hell.
From Hell.
Don't get mad at me, Grand Lodge. You have many reasons to be mad at me. Let's not add one more to it. Psych, Homer the Great, From Hell, and there was one more, and now it's completely escaped me.
I guess I could go back. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
It's hard to keep track.
Anyways, here we are, another episode of this Current Compass podcast, Freemasonry and Pop Culture. This was Igor's suggestion. This isn't a show I've really watched at all. Igor, what show are we watching?
We're watching Murdoch Mysteries. Me and my girlfriend, we watch a lot of this, I would say. It's still put on the background if we don't really want to pay too much attention, but it's an interesting little cop documentary. It's also Canadian. I believe it all takes place in Toronto, so it's a good point of reference for us as Masons, and since it's going to be mostly depicting Canadian Masons and what they do. So this episode is season 3, episode 3, and the description is: in Victorian era Toronto, Inspector William Murdoch uses, that's the generic thing, scientific methods to crack complex, high-profile murders, but to go.
So in this one, they're delving into the secret societies is how they call it, right?
Yes.
Which is, it's interesting because they don't mention, at least in the description for this video, they don't mention Freemasonry, but they mention Masonic, right?
So the episode's called Victorian. So Murdoch and the team are introduced to a complex underworld of Toronto's secret societies after a man dies at a Masonic initiation ritual.
So I'm going to mention I feel like we should have mentioned this in the other videos, like I mentioned in this one anyways. This isn't a market substitute. You can find Murdoch Mysteries on Netflix. That's where we're watching it. I'm sure there's DVDs out there floating around the world, right?
I believe so.
It's on CBC. So yeah, get a chance, watch the original. But if you, like us, and like me, and like Igor, love it when you find Masonic references in pop culture. I think like every Mason loves it when you find Masonic references in pop culture. Watch us, and we'll be watching along and pointing out what we see in there that you guys can check out too. So season 3, episode 3, Igor's going to hit the play button in 3, 2, 1. And intro.
Do you want me to skip the intro?
No, we can have the intro on.
Okay.
It's because I honestly, I know very little about this show. I know that the dude on the show was on Sue Thomas FBI, which is a show I used to watch a little bit.
Okay, I did not know that show.
It was about like a FBI lady who's deaf.
Okay.
So he basically went from playing an FBI agent, like an American law enforcement person in modern times, to an old school Victorian detective.
This usually takes place around the late 1800s, like turn of the century. They throw a lot of stuff in there that can kind of not be always 100% accurate, but it's around the thing. And then they actually talk about like finger marks instead of fingerprints, like early stuff. You want to talk about this? Here's
an interesting point, and I don't know. I think this might be, come to think of it, I know a lot of Murdoch Mysteries, I was told, was filmed at the Hamilton Scottish Rite Temple, kind of around the Grand Lodge building, stuff like that. I'm not sure if this was necessarily, but I know a lot of shows and movies are, including Murdoch Mysteries.
I'm pausing so we can talk about some of the stuff that's in here.
Well, we got some candles, we got some people in robes. That is, I've seen candlelight lodges, and don't forget, this was set in 1899, thereabouts?
Yeah, thereabouts.
We got a gentleman kneeling. What's interesting is there's an altar behind him, which is different.
Who has long been in darkness and now seeks to be brought to light.
Having been in the state of darkness, what is the predominant wish in your heart?
Light.
Then let that blessing be restored.
In thy presence,
There's a little extra theatrics though. It's meant for TV.
Yeah, they're playing some stuff up. So mote it be. I don't know if you guys heard that. That's a classic. That's not really a Masonic line necessarily, but it's, become Masonic. It's used in all sorts of rituals and ceremonies.
And and able to display the beauties of true godliness. So mote it be.
He's got the cuffs on
I
though.
was solemnly
Embroidered.
swear to
Yeah.
Square and compass. Look at the background. Their collars do have a square and compass with a G on it. Their robes do have an eye with looks like light coming from
But
it.
it looks like it's very hard. Like you wouldn't know who anybody was, like officer-wise. Everybody seems to have the exact same jewels, with the exception of
Pleasure that I extend to you.
the person who looks like plain worshipful master has cuffs, which he wouldn't in a Canadian lodge. At least not now. I don't know if he did back in the day. And he just took a sip of wine,
From a skull.
which apparently something terrible has happened. It looks like he was poisoned.
He's dead. Not a senior steward?
Yes, sir.
Well, we got a senior steward.
Tell him there's a crime scene. In King's Honesty.
So that's actually Murdoch's sergeant or captain, and the other person was also another police officer. So they're actually Murdoch's not an actual Freemason in this, but his colleagues are.
Inspector Bernard.
Hold on. Pause it for a second.
He applied for his first degree.
Can you go back, like just a couple seconds? Let's see.
I put it on you.
I don't know if I can. Let's see. No.
Go from there.
Go from there. All right. I wonder if we can zoom in because it looks like as Detective Inspector Murdoch is coming in.
Detective, I believe.
Detective on the top left side. That looks like a legit Masonic certificate. That looks like
does.
my Masonic certificate
Yes.
that I have. I wonder if we can zoom in. I don't think so. If anybody on YouTube land knows how to zoom in while watching Netflix on the picture, please let us know. And it's funny because this is set in like 19 or 18, whatever, but that looks like my certificate.
That's a very modern certificate. Most people watching this probably wouldn't even think to look at it or even know about that or what it even means. It should probably be a charter on the wall, not a certificate. So
There should be, yeah. Unless maybe they're treating that as the charter.
maybe they are.
But that's a Mason certificate from definitely 90s on, because if that had been like a legit certificate, maybe of a brother who passed away, it would be the giant ones, right? They used to be so much bigger.
And it'd be that looks like it's probably not handwritten. That looks like it's definitely like printed out because the handwritten ones you can usually tell. But the room next to the body does have a book on a table that's draped, has some embroidery on it, a couple of candles of various heights.
The candles is neat. There's a ton of candles in this room now. I don't know if anybody's been to a candlelight lodge, and if you want, you can leave a comment in this video. I mean, I've been to a couple where they lit it just with candlelight. I'm pretty sure there was a fire hazard. I don't know if they're doing it here because they had electricity in the show, even though it's set in very olden times. But I don't know if they were doing it for ambience or if maybe Masons back then always used candlelight.
Maybe they're trying to do it traditionally for them.
All right, well, we see a certificate of some sort, a Masonic certificate on the back wall, definitely modern.
It's we're 3 minutes and 22 seconds in, and Cameron just restarted the entire episode.
I didn't mean to. I'm going to skip the intro. This is your own fault for giving it to me. And we're going.
It's about three.
There it is. All
You
right.
probably could back it up. Oh well.
He applied for his first degree a few months ago.
Mention a first degree.
Then he died right in front of him. Yes. Oh, the thing.
We got 3 chairs. Looks about right for the east. Master in the middle. We got the columns.
Looks like a pillar.
Blood oath. Sir, he was drinking. Not actual blood, Murdoch, wine. Oh, and it's been secured.
So there's so blood oath, that's obviously nonsense. There's no blood oath, at least on the first 3 degrees. I haven't been to all of the Allied Masonic stuff yet.
Blood oath. Lodge members exclusively. Crabtree's got them assembled in another room.
Sirs, the brethren are charged me to stop. Would you like to speak to them now?
Yes, please, George. Thank you.
So
Worship the master.
no aprons anywhere.
You're not a Mason.
No.
They tried to do the handshake.
There's a handshake.
See, I don't know the ins and outs of the show, but the basic premise seems to be that. Well, Igor, you can say it.
The person that's in charge isn't in charge in lodge. So the worship master who runs the lodge has delegated the authority of investigating the, I don't know, it's definitely not legal. They'll give the authority of investigating the murder to a junior officer. He's still a full officer, just he's not the main guy. So it causes some contention, to say the least.
You know, it's one of those things, like how accurate could that possibly be, even for back in the day? I mean, so they, you know, obviously they bring in Murdoch, who's not a Mason at all, which in modern times, of course, if God forbid something terrible happened in a lodge room, you call the paramedics, you call the police, you call whoever you got to call. You're not gonna, you know, ask for a Mason specifically.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But the idea of like a Mason kind of setting the terms of the investigation and asking that it be one of theirs. Having said that, though, back in the day, I mean, we had sufficient number of Masons who probably were police officers. I mean, I've heard of police officer lodges not that long ago.
In the past, yeah.
So, I mean, maybe it would have been theoretically possible for a police officer to ask for or, you know, get some type, if there were to happen in the lodge.
So they brought up why the one guy wasn't advancing due to some bad language, basically, and yeah, that I find that hilarious. I wonder if that's a bylaws that they have back then for.
Well, let's not talk about bylaws, Igor. That's going to come up a lot in September. Although that is an interesting point, something I've seen in lodges, right? So the guy who's not advancing, he's the captain outside a lodge, right?
I forget his rank, but he's in charge of that department for murder investigations, and he's superior to both Crabtree and to Murdoch.
So when you got a guy who is, and if you see this Masonically, you have a guy who's outside of the lodge, or even in a different lodge, is in charge or is used to giving orders or has worked his way up, to then come into a lodge and be kind of back at the low man on the totem pole and be expected to go through the ranks. I mean, if you're giving orders all day at work, if you're a police captain, then to come into a lodge where suddenly you're the one who has to take the orders again. I wonder if that could explain some of his...
It seems to be a common theme, though, because even in the Homer the Great episode, Lenny, I believe it was Lenny, was literally kicking around Mr. Burns, because Mr. Burns was a lower rank. Even though in Masonry we are all the same level, we're all brothers, we're all equal, but it's just we have rank to preserve subordination just so we can keep the lodge running properly.
It's hard to run a lodge if there's nobody running the lodge. All right, now last time I tried this, we ended up back at the start. I'm gonna hit X.
Okay.
We're gonna see what happens. Actually, I'm gonna go.
We're at 503 right now, anyways.
We're at 503. I don't know why it's okay. Play. Nope, we're good. That was terrifying.
I'm superior, not in here. Brother Crabtree, the night is getting long. Let's get on with this.
Yes, Brother Crabtree.
So this is.
How do you suggest we proceed?
Even the way it's funny. I like the way they say brother. Like it's like a title. You know.
And let Detective Murdoch do his job.
Very well.
Brother Anderson, I should also like to pass the reins of the investigation to the inspector.
See. So he's giving everyone's responsibility back to what it should be.
Where should we begin?
It's always interesting. I wish I could. Maybe I'll see if I can track down some of the writers of this show. I'm nearly positive this was done in Hamilton.
I beg your pardon. Are you an atheist? I ask only because as our Constitution clearly states, quote, "We cannot allow stupid atheists to infiltrate we who are obliged to obey the law of law."
I'm wondering if stupid it actually was part of the Constitution back in the day.
That sounds crazy.
So, to be a Mason, you have to believe in the Supreme Being. The nature of that Supreme Being is between the brother and whatever faith or whatever belief he has. I would say, I don't think it's spilling any secrets to say probably what it means to believe in a Supreme Being is very different in 2022 as it was even 50 years ago, and what's accepted as belief in a Supreme Being. But according to the show, the guy in charge just said that they don't allow, according to the Constitution, quote-unquote, stupid atheists. I've never heard...
Into lodge, which is anyone going to lodge. It just can't be initiated without certain prerequisites.
Yeah, even just enter the room itself, I mean...
Victor was a brilliant accountant
So all these robes and stuff, I feel like that is something that was taken more from one of the rites.
But
Could be.
the lodge had its own treasure.
Yes, your highest possible.
So they have talking about treasure and different roles that are done within the lodge.
More than the maker's salary.
You suspected him of skimming funds.
Yes, I got a picture could discreetly examine the books to the sort, which I don't mind.
And now they're talking about the treasurer perhaps skimming funds, which would never ever happen.
I see.
Because of course we're all
There's
perfect.
a dead man in the temple, and he wants to look into our accounts.
Sir, there's been word of concern over your bookkeeping methods.
Which could be mistaken as motive. The accounts book is kept in a secret, sacred place, a place it cannot leave. I'm not concerned with showing you the book. I'm concerned with revealing where it is kept. Brother Boswell, don't make this difficult.
So
Just show us the book.
this is interesting. You've got a treasurer here. So you've got 3 lodge members and 1 non-lodge member. But apparently the only person who knows where the treasurer is keeping his book is the treasurer. Which, I mean, I feel like it's almost that way by default. Like how many members know?
You do a financial report once in a while, but it's true. We don't. Not everybody's going to ask to look at finances all the time. We get usually an annual update if you request it, or nothing's really hidden. Or
But even the higher ranking Masons, I don't know again if this is just for dramatic purposes, or if there is lodges out there where again the treasurer kind of does his own thing and does a report to the lodge or keeps the books hidden, right? That can probably.
But I know advanced knowledge of this episode, so there's some things you'll chuckle at later on, because how much can you actually keep hidden within a lodge? Like Masons talk, word gets out of anything. Anything happens. Everyone knows.
That's true. How much can you keep hidden in a lodge?
Well, according
Oh,
to
the cipher.
architect for each lodge incorporates the symbols into the design.
Famous cipher.
Cipher. So each of these shapes has a corresponding letter. That's intriguing.
Sir, you must come. He's taking us to the high room.
The higher room. Yeah.
The higher room.
Yes.
Sir.
They are walking up and down these stairs a lot. They must have been exhausted.
Chief architect of King Solomon's Temple. He was murdered for refusing to divulge the Master Mason's secret password.
Which is?
Oh, sir, I couldn't possibly tell you that.
Good Mason.
But they did allege, like, they talked about the allegory about Hiram's death,
But I'll let you see this.
which is absolutely crazy that
Only 33
It's kept-
Masons have access to the room. We have
It's kept in like a wall safe.
Yes.
The other two are
and he mentioned there's 33 Masons, or 33 Masons that have access to it. They grabbed as much masonry symbolism as they could and just threw it in the episode and just shoved it all in.
Yeah, there's a lot of. They're bringing stuff in from Scottish Rite. They're bringing stuff in.
It's not coherent. It's like,
You're all sworn to secrecy, especially the papist. Excellent.
Murdoch is Catholic, call him papist. So there was issues back then about Catholics and Masons, but that's so ancient.
Well, technically though.
Another certificate in the wall?
That looks a little bit older, but I don't know if that's just set dressing.
No,
No,
I have. That's the copy I have.
For a second, I thought it looked like dirty, like it had smut.
Well, I literally just voted for DDGM, so I had to look at my certificate to get the number.
Yeah. And we got, there looked like there's altar drape on there with a square on it.
Page of sheet music from a magic flute. Also, was extremely enlightened.
I wonder if they had just people bring theirs in, just dress set, or if they went to, you can find a lot of these things at pawn shops and stuff.
Officially suppressed.
But they're all mint condition, so I imagine it's not pawn stuff. So
Would look better if it was pawn, to be honest. Would look more, to a discerning eye. Like, I'm sure the average person doesn't notice, but I notice how, new it looks compared to, because I've seen old ones and new ones.
initiation fees, dues paid.
That looks exactly like some of the old books we have in our temple, even down to the handwriting. Which makes sense. We have books in here that date to about this time period. Right? Our oldest.
They
Our oldest lodge is 1854, and it
That
brought
looks
its
like Tool's case they had in that one corner. And that book is ancient.
Listen, open that bloody door.
Absolutely not. There's a woman out there. It's not
They're not letting a woman in the room. Again, that's, I mean, that might have been true back in the day. I've heard stories about, you know, under no circumstances wanting a woman in lodge room, even if lodge is going on. But how many times in our temple has Anita Joyce been in the lodge room to set things
We've
up?
had weddings there. We've hosted weddings. Obviously, we clear away all the Masonic stuff, and they use the room and the chairs and stuff.
I mean, and it's funny because this woman is outside of the show, like they're filming in a Masonic building, right? And the woman's in there. Because I'm nearly positive this is being filmed in Hamilton.
Any initial thoughts?
And I mean, Eastern Star uses the rooms, and Rainbow Girls here uses the room.
His tongue is engorged. From the bloody film around his mouth, I suspect his throat is swollen shut as well.
You died of asphyxia then?
Yes, from poison, it would seem.
So somebody poisoned the wine
Sir, begins
for the blood oath.
the most forthcoming bunch.
They're not a bad lot. We do a great deal of work for charity, even though I do admit
They do a great deal of work for charities,
So yes,
as do many lodges. They just posted something about raising money for Grand Lodge of England, or Grand Lodge of Ukraine.
sir, we interviewed all of the Masons that were present here this evening, and none of you seem to know the victim very well.
Then we'll need to take a closer look, won't we?
The person was being initiated, so they actually didn't know them that well. It was probably their first time in lodge, or getting to know some of the other brethren.
So yeah, they would have known, you know, they would have known his sponsors, would have known him, his committee maybe, but it depends how much, you know, how much work the committee did.
Buried himself in his work, pretty much kept to himself. By all accounts, he was a quiet, orderly, very amiable man.
Friends, family.
And none that were mentioned, but I have Higgins.
We should probably do like that. There's spoilers if people do actually want to see this and watch it legit. There's spoilers. This is always like
Spoiler alert.
It's mysteries, right? So it's always every episode. There's twists, there's turns. We try to keep it interesting.
Spoiler alert.
Do you think he could be our killer?
Possibly.
Here it comes.
Sir, how many pairs of shoes do you own?
Is that his hotel room?
That's the person's living.
Oh,
The person, here's a spoiler, is not actually a man. It's actually a woman that's trying to infiltrate Masonic Lodge.
there's stories about that happening. There's some story about, I forget, if somebody knows, put in the comments, some woman who was so obsessed with joining, she hid under like the bleachers just to see the ceremony. And when they found her, they obligated her because they wanted to, you know, obligate her to keep the secrets, and then they suspended her. So she could never attend lodge. But there you go.
Where does that happen? Where did you hear that?
I remember, I heard it so long ago. I don't know if it's true or just urban legend.
About 7 months ago. Apparently, a first-rate accountant
If
with
anybody knows that story, I think it was in English, but that's a guess.
So that picture, they show a picture of the deceased victim and their friends, and it is absolutely hilarious. You actually see the picture. It's obviously women that have fake mustaches on. It's blatantly hilarious.
So were they like just obsessed with becoming Masons? They wanted to know the secrets?
When we talk about it, no, it's just a group of women that want to do men stuff. Like they hated being excluded because of the gender, so they formed a committee or a group of individuals that went around going to cigar clubs and trying to do things and have fun like men would do back then. This was frowned upon for women.
They could do way more fun things than joining Freemasonry.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I did. There's one more very important fact you're going to need to know.
Good.
Under in the morgue, the sheets draped over the victim, and it's
You can tell it's a lady. Well, I mean, you know, that brings up the whole topic.
To tell me.
Well, I was gonna say she could have looked at joining Eastern Star or something, but not unless you're related somehow to a Mason. Which Eastern Star, you should change that rule. That would help.
With that woman standing right beside me.
asked Water to do it next to him. He's outraged and offended that he shared a bathroom.
She was living her life as a man. But for what purpose?
Clearly the woman was insane.
Or is there maybe
That does make sense in the title. Victoria. Victoria.
You've read too many penny
I think it's Victor Victorian.
to be a delicate sir.
That's right.
But the lodge is an
Victor, it is. Season 3, episode 3, Victor Victoria.
Often secrets.
It would have made more sense as Victor Victoria at this point.
Willing to do anything to keep them.
Man, what do you think we are? What kind of man do you think would kill a woman for infiltrating a lodge?
This is ludicrous. There's obviously been some confusion at the morgue.
There is no confusion, Mr. Anderson. Victor Bernard was a woman. And it's obvious that you disapprove of women.
Of course I do.
Guy's got the
Rat creatures.
Masonic ring.
It's calls for humiliation, not anger.
Right then, what would have happened had a woman been discovered in the lodge?
She would have been dismissed quietly and discreetly. If anyone knew this secret, it would have been someone who knew him well. Rather, her.
Obviously, talk to sponsors first.
I saw Victor several times a week. He dined regularly at her house.
All this time you'd spent with her, you had no idea she was a woman.
No, never.
You say Victor dined at your home frequently. Perhaps Mrs. Winters sensed something.
Miriam and I have no secrets. None.
So,
Perhaps when you discovered
that's an interesting thing. So sponsorship, right, when you apply to become a Freemason, in Ontario and in most jurisdictions, you need to be sponsored by at least 2 Masons. But you can technically have as many sponsors as you want. I mean, you can throw a bunch on there if you wanted to, but you need to. It looks like they're speaking to the victim's sponsor, who said that the victim had dinner with him and his family several times during the week. Right? How many of us nowadays know the people that we're sponsoring? Or how many sponsors spend time with whoever it is that's coming through?
The shoes. I mean, not the shoes themselves, but the sheer number
Well,
of
I
shoes. My 16-year-old
guess that was a woman there.
has an obsession
It's a very fake-looking mustache.
fascination with shoes. Surely that's an exactly
Yeah, that was.
I would be sure of it.
Old school, I just saw the old school picture frame on there. It looks like something we have around this building.
Something's different.
Yep.
So is he like a Sherlock Holmes-esque? Like he's really good at solving crimes?
Yes. But he's very scientific about it. Like, so Crabtree, his partner, believes in ghosts and monsters and various things, but Murdoch will bring up the science to prove things. There's been good ghosts and werewolf episodes. And, they have famous people. Tesla, Henry Ford are played. The Prime Minister. I watched the one episode not that long ago, which had Winston Churchill before he became obviously a war politician. But it showed him as a drunkard, I'd say. Where he did like a hangover episode where he kind of woke up the one day and he's had a sword with blood on it and the person was stabbed, but it's obviously he just walked into the lady's chamber.
Sister, I believe that's what the sign on the door clearly says.
I apologize, miss.
You know, it's trying enough, sir, to have to endure these second-rate facilities passed down from the men's teams, but to also be denied privacy is quite unacceptable.
I'm very sorry.
Or perhaps you're some kind of peeping Tom.
Sir, there's no sign of time.
Excuse me!
George, okay. Just give us a moment.
Victor Bernard's locker undead.
Yes.
Masonic cipher.
Cypher's back.
Yep.
Sir. This list of charities. How will I just raise money for each and every one of these?
Sir, I think this is the audit that Brother Winters was speaking of.
So they just found that that's the charities a lodge raised money for. Let us know which charities you guys raise money for.
The actual charities. George, we have to get Higgins to find out everything we can about the treasure Mr. Boswell's.
Excuse me? That is private property.
Yes, the property of a dead woman, I'm afraid.
Her name is Grace Reed.
You know she died in the Masonic Lodge, dressed in men's clothing.
Yes, it's strange.
And aside from playing on this women's basketball team, it appears she'd been living out her life as a man.
Really?
They're doing the typical thing, calling
She was also
everything a Masonic Lodge. Technically, the victim died in a Masonic Temple during a Masonic
Do any
Lodge
of you know who he is?
No, sir.
or a Masonic building.
You played
A
basketball.
lot of people are moving away from Masonic Temple as a word
I know.
for places where Freemasons meet.
It's our detective.
And in California, they call them Masonic buildings.
Knew anything about
I've heard people use it hall, Masonic halls, in reference before.
I think it's a better idea. I think Temple has too many religious connotations.
So let me
It
get
does,
this
it's
straight.
misleading.
I'm
I don't mind it though,
not-
for me it's like second nature.
Turns out to be a woman.
Like I sometimes just refer to it as the temple to people that know me and know what I do.
And yeah, and in Windsor especially, like, it's been around forever. It's hard. Nobody's going to start calling it something else at this point.
It's complicated, to be sure.
Complicated. Complicated? It makes no bloody sense whatsoever. Now, if these basketball girls do know something, let's drag them down the station and let's scare the living daylights out of them.
A subtler approach might be more effective with this, sir. Perhaps we can send someone in undercover.
That's a good idea.
But who?
Gonna guess it's going to be Crabtree.
No. I'm not wearing a dress. Not again anyway.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Oh, it's a doctor. That makes more sense. I sense comedic hijinks coming up. She's a attractive doctor lady. Are they like? I feel like her and the Murdoch are going to get together. I sense.
It's one of those things nobody will date for seasons upon seasons. And she does get married to somebody else and they want to get divorced, but then he doesn't change his mind.
So it's a whole thing.
It's continues on for many seasons.
Well,
Have
there.
you seen their basketball outfits though? How hilarious is that? Let's see a sailor outfit.
That would be miserable to play basketball in.
Playing with country club boys, you know, there's lucky for us.
And there's like a ladder. I'm guessing to get the thing
The
down.
basket, yeah. I'm not sure if there's a hole in the bottom of the basket.
Very. He's trying to do the Masonic cipher at the moment.
Decoding something, sir? Yes, and according to her notebook, so was Grace Reed. She was particularly interested in these 5 symbols.
Well, that shouldn't be too difficult. 5 symbols, 5 letters.
120 permutations, very good, George. But it's more complicated than that. For instance, this symbol could represent a P, but depending on its orientation, it could also be a T, a V, or an N.
So, sir, if each of the 5 symbols...
Does anybody
potentially
use
represent
the Masonic cipher anymore? Has anybody ever sent you a message?
Like we have one of those old books downstairs, which is just symbols. I was like, how is someone supposed to learn this, or even remember it?
Julia Ogden, have I understood you correctly?
You have to basically have to draw it out like all the time, right? The checkerboard system.
A modern day bachelor girl, I think that's about the most blissful thing I've ever heard. Father would rather see me married, bored, and unhappy than living a life so free. He barely tolerates my secretarial work at the law office.
It was a bit of a battle through, ma'am, but I have no regrets.
Many of whom you work, and I think you brazenly improper.
So the doctor
I'm true.
is well. So this lady's upset that she's a secretary,
Julia,
etc., etc.
Would you be interested in coming on a little adventure this evening? Just
Oh.
a little fun amongst us girls.
So this is where they try to infiltrate like secret male societies and all that jazz.
Yes.
Or just
that's
secret
the-
societies in
No, that's,
general?
no, just men's society, not secret society. They're just trying to taste life that men had the liberty of doing back then, and women were excluded from.
With the ball and fork.
Equally bad luck, sir. If anybody's interfered with either of these, I can't see how.
If Grace Reed was poisoned, but how and with what?
Sir, Dr. Ogden just sent us by messenger. We're to meet her at the Albany Club at Colbert Street.
What's the Albany Club?
I believe it's a cigar club.
So this is a gentleman's club.
Gentlemen only.
That's what Higgins wrote down.
The good
You're a
old,
fan of gentlemen's clubs?
the good old day. I am a fan of gentlemen's clubs. I feel like this is not the same type though.
No. Most certainly is not.
Can't smoke cigars at gentlemen clubs at which I've been attending.
Have you been paying attention to people who've been walking by?
I've seen a couple that
Sorry.
well, there you go. That's the doctor, I do believe.
I don't know.
Julie, Dr. Ogden, you look like a man. Pretty man.
No idea, Mason. He's so comfortable.
Yeah, I call bullshit on that.
I agree as well.
I call
You
bullshit.
can look good in a suit, but it's not the most comfortable thing you can do.
No, it's
Especially rocking the whole bow tie and everything. I'm not sure how formal they're going. It looks like a tux.
and it's so much work, and you always gotta clean them, and like you can't like this shirt. I don't know when last time I cleaned it. It's fine. Suits are just so much more work.
I wear clean clothes.
Well, aren't we special?
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer. Hashtag Igor wears clean clothes. Hashtag Cameron is disgusting.
So he's recognized the women in the club dressed as men from the basketball games.
Ball team.
How much like overlap would there have been back in the day, you think, between like these high-end like cigar clubs and Masonic lodges? Were they all going back and forth?
Well, I imagine it'd be a lot because there wasn't that much else to do. And like you didn't travel as much when there's not that many colors, I believe, back then.
No. And I mean, you wouldn't, there's no social media. You couldn't to keep track of people. You'd have to kind of keep track through.
The basketball team / men in suits were busted.
/ men in suits.
The whole dramatic pulling the mustache, love it.
That's definitely an old school. It's an old school like detective trope.
But we left the rest of the goatee on though. It was just the mustache he pulled off.
It'll be taken off in a second as well. I'm sure the rest of it.
Really great fun stuff. I have a secret camera.
Suddenly I gotta call the Grand Lodge. There's all the things.
Let's talk him out for show.
You two, Murdoch.
Speeding Grand Lodge. We're recording this on the 20th, so by the time we show this, I think it'll be too late to vote for DD Jam in Ontario. But you can still register to vote for Grand Lodge in July. So do that if you're eligible.
They did lie to me.
Master, Warden, Past Master of the Lodge. It's super easy to register to vote.
Wait, it's one of the years we vote for the wardens and masters of that?
No, you can only register to vote if you're a
Okay.
Master, Past Master, or Warden.
I wasn't sure if there's a Grand Master voting year or not.
There is...
It's every 2 years, right?
Yeah, no, we're voting for... I did a bunch of things. Board of General Purposes.
You interviewed people.
Which, look up there, there's some links. Board of General Purposes, I know that I'm trying to think who else
I
now.
believe these
Top of
are
my head.
our best key to finding out how and why Grace Reed died. We need to speak with them.
Right. Let's get on with it.
Hopefully we get more of a turnout for voting. I don't think they had a good turnout last year for virtual.
I'm actually curious of how much the video can actually hear what's going on in the background. And whether you have to worry about the copyright or anything like that.
If they copyrighted it, all that means, please don't copyright me, YouTube. All that means though is I can't monetize the video. We don't have enough hours for it, so it's cool.
Following Grace.
Whenever I think of like YouTube copyright robots, I think of like those. Whenever I think of like YouTube copyright algorithms, I think of the like, you know, like the Matrix, those like squid-like machines.
Yes.
I just imagine them in like YouTube, just
Just releases them?
swimming
Well,
about, trying to pick up, bits of music that you don't have permission to play or something.
And then when she was murdered, we were afraid we might be next.
Is that why on the night of her death you didn't tell us that Grace was a woman?
Yes. Plus, my husband and all his brethren were there. I couldn't risk the social outrage.
It's interesting that they always use brethren, which is correct, but none of the people I've heard
So outrageous.
use brothers for the plural instead of brethren.
I believe me, my girlfriend hates when I use brother, but I'm like, it's correct.
When Leonard introduced me to it,
It's once you get in the habit of it. I still say brothers a lot.
Even like when I do my summons, like the bulletins, I say like greetings, brethren,
she
things like that across the
opened
time.
the door to a world I had never known. We lunched together, and we took long walks, and the respect she commanded as a man. It was so friggin' in a way that, well, they'll never understand.
So he's beginning to sympathize with her cause.
Were you also planning to live your life out as a man?
Look at this now. Victor was the only one so serious about it.
Gracie didn't care about marriage or family life so much as she wanted to have a career. But nobody will hire a female accountant, so she interviewed for the position as a man.
And then she got the job.
Yes. And it was so exhilarating being independent. But then, several weeks ago, she began to feel like she was being watched. I mean, at first we thought she was being paranoid.
Why did you change your mind?
Well, then Miriam saw him too.
I love this old school.
So, yeah, this is like an old school sketch artist thing where they just keep on like
Have you seen them before?
They have plates,
changing,
they
yeah.
have like plates, just eyes, mouths, nose, and they keep on rearranging themselves to see something close.
Oh, it was awful.
Can't imagine how inaccurate that
And
is.
before I knew what was happening, her
But I
face
feel like it would almost be
She lost her breath for a few moments.
easier than now when you gotta draw a whole thing.
Something
Sure.
at the end of the dessert.
Because at least with this, you can
I
like,
don't see how.
But they have computers now, so you're like, no, more like this size, and you can actually enlarge, space them out, and do whatever.
Igor spent a lot of time at police stations, giving descriptions of various people.
Yeah, but they still haven't caught him yet.
Ah, because that's when you're talking about me, that's the face, that's what you use as your distinguishing characteristic.
What was it?
It was vanilla ice cream croquettes. Rolled in crushed peanuts and macaroons, I believe.
I see.
I feel like that is important.
Uh,
Well, wait, she identified the shark, right? So it was the peanuts that killed her. Spoilers.
that's it, turn the episode off. But yes, the whole thing, this is just like Masonic coloring. It's Masonic coloring over just a murder. It just happens to be incidental.
So what, was it a murder though? Now it sounds like it was just like an accident.
So it's Victor introduced
It was crushed peanuts.
Who puts peanuts in the skull?
But it wasn't the skull because you said she had it with the ice cream beforehand.
Yes.
Your secret
So,
and your secret gentleman.
somebody must have found out that she's allergic to peanuts. Or he is allergic to peanuts.
True.
And then if you just line a little bit of peanuts on the skull, if you're that severely allergic to it,
Maybe there's just a lot of peanuts in the skull. Wait, I'm confused by this whole 3D thing. Who had the ice cream rolled in peanuts?
Do either of you recognize him?
No, don't you?
I forget.
She showed this to her
I
family.
think it was the person that passed away. That's how somebody else found out that they're allergic to peanuts and was able to sabotage or
Oh, so they saw that she was allergic to them.
Yes.
But she was okay. She hated the peanuts, but she
If
was...
she had medical attention quickly or didn't have that much.
Possibility.
Now it makes sense.
But if a person actually drinks peanuts,
So death
And
by
we're
peanut
that.
is what you're proposing.
It would be
That's like you.
exceedingly rare. However, I have read material that supports theories of hypersensitivity to food.
Peanuts are rare enough on their own, so to be sensitive to them seems highly unlikely.
That's an old school statement.
yes.
Nowadays, everybody's allergic to
There
peanuts.
you go.
Well, back then he said peanuts are rare.
So that makes sense and why now it's jumped up.
The killer ground the peanuts into a fine liquid soluble paste. Spread it in the skull. Then when the wine was poured into the skull, it would have mixed with the peanuts and become lethal for Grace Reed.
It's possible.
This mystery man could easily have learned of Grace Reed's sensitivity to peanuts from the attack she had while lunching with
That looks like...
Exactly.
Like, I've seen skulls like that before in like shops and stuff. That looks like one of those.
It's such a
Halloween.
weird thing. Yeah, no, it's such a weird thing to be drinking from the skull.
I had Higgins look at the lines
Reading
of
skull?
but he has not one but 3 bank accounts. He also has a safety deposit box which you access at almost every Masonic charity event.
Dun, dun, dun.
Funds from the lodge.
And that just walks out. He has a woman of loose character that keeps on side facing her.
Woman of loose character.
And apparently she's getting access to Masonic funds or is receiving Masonic funds. I have been arguing for years that the lodge gave me money to go to the strip club, and so far, it's fallen on deaf ears. Don Warner, if you're watching this,
So now we have a Mason.
I would like some money,
access
please.
to the skull, and the killer
I know many loose women
reads sensitivity
who
to
could benefit.
and so someone recognizes it.
Apparently you joined the wrong lodge. You have to go back in time and join that fictional lodge.
Look closely.
But they aren't all doing it, it's just the treasurer, it sounds like.
It's true.
So I'd have to join that lodge, then become the treasurer.
Yes, it is.
And if I remember the layout of the second floor correctly, that's coming from the higher room.
The Hiram room. That looks like a legit, like, pedestal cover type of thing.
Gentlemen, please step back.
Down there in the corner.
Is that the man who was following Grace Reed?
Yes, sir, I believe it is.
So that's that killer.
It seems so.
Dun, dun, dun.
Apparently that sketch was fairly accurate.
According to this, his name is Francis LaChapelle. He's a private investigator.
Maybe he was following Grace at the behest of the killer.
Possibly. George, find his office. Go through it with a fine-tooth comb.
Constable?
And the doctor has returned.
Doctor, we found the mace beside the body. I assume it to be the murder weapon.
That would be consistent with the blunt force trauma to the back of the head. There's minimal blood spatter. It appears it only took one blow to kill him. From a religious order, this temple certainly has its share of problems.
It's not a religion, Doctor.
Not a religion.
Set of beliefs.
Hence the trouble with the name temple. Like, oftentimes it gets mistaken for religion. But it's not. We have many brothers of many, many different faiths.
Locked before we came in, was it not?
I know what you're thinking. Only one man had access to the room.
The man who let us in.
This treasurer seems pretty sketchy.
Grace Reed was on some, wasn't she? But she was sniffing around, asking questions she shouldn't have until she'd found anything. The accounting book is kept in the higher room, as always. This Victor, this Grace woman, never saw it.
That's the right pronunciation, right? Hiram?
And you knew that.
Because I've been known to go Hiram and then get in trouble after lodge.
The two of you killed her in the lodge.
But I'm going to go with Hiram. That's what... I feel like that's the correct interpretation. I've said Hiram before, though.
Have you?
Yeah. And then rituals and stuff, I've pronounced it Hiram. I think I even pronounced it that way once in a
I'll admit,
video, and somebody commented on the bottom, I was like, you need to learn how to pronounce
but someone else killed
Hiram.
How did they get inside?
You need to learn how to pronounce Hiram. So Hiram, there, I'm pronouncing it right, person who left random comment on my YouTube
We have
video.
Hiram Walker,
anything.
like distillery nearby.
Wait, is that named after...
I swear.
That can't be named after the guy, though.
Architect of the
Just
universe.
an individual, yes.
It's named after Hiram from back in the day.
No,
like,
not back in the day. It's the person. Like biblical names were used often.
Like, I think I know, like, female biblical names are stuck around, like Sarah,
Ruth. Not so much anymore, but
Sir, it's like Victor, and she was sitting with someone.
but I've never met anybody named, like, Hiram or...
I don't know Hiram's either. But
But apparently he made good whiskey. I never put two and two together. My own fault. And I don't drink whiskey, that's my excuse.
no excuse.
I am from Windsor, I should know better.
Even that's debatable.
I get enough, I'm from Winnipeg. I live in Windsor. I'm from
You've been
Winnipeg.
here long enough, you should know.
Feels like I'm from Windsor at this point.
You're marrying angels. No, George.
They're currently
And Miriam. I believe I know who
doing some stuff with photography, old school photo development.
Struck the killer.
What exactly do you mean by the crapshoot when you say you want to break into the hyper room?
But it's embarrassing, really, but the room had been locked before a key piece of evidence was collected. Brother Boswell was keeping a combination close to his chest.
What key piece of evidence?
The murder weapon.
You know, false Boswell's happened. It would be blasphemous to smash one's way into any room at the lodge, never mind the high room.
When were you planning this?
There's no such thing as a higher room. I feel like now a whole bunch of like enter apprentices are gonna start looking for a higher room.
Fine. Permission granted if you must.
I say that there could be like lodges can name the rooms whatever they want, right? You could have a temple, Masonic building out there.
Did you see what they're doing? They're actually playing a trap. They had some suspects, and they're like, we don't know who it is, so they said there's key evidence in there we have to collect this tonight, and to see who would come and collect it. And they found, I forget what position is or his name.
You know.
Dun, dun, dun.
They thought his wife was going out, having an affair with the other person.
Miriam and I were closer than any
There's a lot happening in this.
It just happens to be like a Masonic background. It's just
That's why
a supposed affair.
to follow Miriam.
Well, that's the thing. I always think that like the best movies, the best TV shows, the best whatever it is, like if you took the thing, if you took the hook out, would it still work otherwise, right? Like this, even like you said, if you took out anything Masonic, it would still just be a good like little murder mystery.
Yes.
It's like scary movies. The best scary movies are the ones where if you took the scary element out, it'd still work as a movie. It'd just become like a drama or something.
Since this all began with your concerns over
Nightmare on Elm
finances,
I could do without the irony.
I always feel back in the day they had way too much like clothes. Like there's a lot to deal with.
I can't see the face when she wears one.
They're constantly wearing suits.
Imagine how much dirty clothes you'd be wearing then. You'd be.
Oh,
I would not be sitting this close to you.
I would be disgusting. And how often could they even do laundry back in the day? Like it wasn't like they had laundry machines.
I never believed that Victor and I were.
I think they did like the hand scrubbing against.
he had no
See, that'd be miserable. I would just buy new clothes every 3 days.
I never should have kept that secret.
Constantly wearing fancy hats.
Then he never should have dealt with me.
Unfortunately, his jealousy overcame him.
So because of jealousy, I've lost both the love of my life and my best friend.
I'm terribly sorry.
Leonard once told me that the biggest difference between men and women was that men can keep a cool head. Women cannot.
I don't know if that's necessarily true.
You know, all people are
What do you
equally
think of that?
able to lose their. I don't want to swear on your channel. You're gonna beat me.
I've sworn many times that everybody can capable of losing their shit. It's been known to happen across all peoples.
My virgin years.
All peoples, all genders and all sexes and all the rest of it. I've been known to lose my temper on many an occasion. There's a goldfish now, so we're back at like the morgue.
Yep.
I'm guessing.
Check when they're eating. I'm quite interested in his hypersensitivities to food. Obviously, to some people, a peanut can be extremely harmful.
Fascinating.
Is this something you need?
Yes. I made you angry earlier.
Yes.
At what part? What did he
I
do?
don't know why.
I guess we'll find out.
The inspector was being archaic and thick-headed, and you just stood there.
Julia, that was your argument. And for me to jump in as though you weren't strong enough to handle yourself in the situation somewhat defeats that argument.
Well, I only wanted your support.
And you haven't. Completely. But I will not rescue you, Julia. Because from everything I know about you, you don't need it.
Your logic is infuriating.
Just a little bit, Winston.
So So they also have another certificate at the back. That looks like a medical school certificate.
Yeah,
or
this is
something.
probably hers.
That also looks very much like that does not look like something from 18 whenever.
Oh.
Because back in the day, they were always so like the Masonic ones are huge compared to those. Those are like 8 by 11, 8.5 by 11. Oh, so they're already together by this point. All right. That was Murdoch Mysteries. Stop. Season 3, episode 3.
So what did you like about the episode?
I liked the backdrop of everything because some of that was in Hamilton. It looked like, it reminded me of my time visiting the Scottish Rite Cathedral there, which I really liked. I liked the fact that the Masons were. I enjoy it when we're the villains. I think that's always fun, like in From Hell. But I like the fact that they didn't treat us like we're a bunch of crazy people. That was nice. And I enjoyed all the it was neat the way they kind of, like you said, they threw everything against the wall, right? They took all these Masonic things and just they were bringing in stuff from Scottish Rite. I feel like there's probably stuff from York right there that I didn't,
something in the back.
right, that I don't because I'm not York Rite side of it. They had collars but no aprons, and the jewels were just the symbols, which again was not an Ontario thing. I've seen some lodges where they'll have jewels that are the squaring compasses. But so I enjoyed that too. It was kind of fun to try to separate, as somebody in the know, right? It's kind of fun to pick out stuff. And
Yes.
like what goes where. For somebody watching it who's not a Mason and has no experience, they would have no way to know what fits in what spot.
I found this much more accurate, even when they were doing an obligation, than compared to that psych episode. I know that's some type of other lodge, but I found that they treated this, even a little tongue-in-cheek. They treated it with some respect, at least. So I do.
And it was
appreciate
it was more legit. Like even in the episode description, it was more legit Mason, right? Like
Masonic.
Masonic, yeah. In the psych episode,
It was just lodge.
yeah, it was just a place. But they would throw in the symbols in there. This one, they were nice enough to no, this is free. This is Masonic. This is Freemasonry. I like the actor in it. I like the story, and it's timely in a lot of ways. There's still all sorts of areas where women had it rough back in the day, right? So the whole point of the episode was right. Women were trying to experience life as a man, because like she was saying, right, when they walked around and people thought they were male, they got more respect, they were treated better. I'm sure that was definitely true back in the turn of the 19th century, but it's also still true nowadays. There were some problems. So timely in that way.
Yeah, there's always progress we made.
Absolutely. All right, where would you rank this one compared to the other ones we've seen so far?
Rank it how? What's your criteria for ranking?
Just if you were...
Accuracy, better than pretty much everything we've watched, except the Hell one. That one had probably more regalia, had collars, I believe. It's been a while since we watched that. But this one, I think it was more accurate than everything else, especially Psych and Simpsons.
What about for entertainment value? Like if you had to pick order of movies that if you just want to be entertained.
Oof. I like comedies, so like Psych and Simpsons are up there. Because I found it funny when they're getting paddled in Simpsons, when they're getting paddled, and then he's like, oh, my blindfold fell off. I gotta do it all over again. I thought that was wonderful.
The stone of shame. Put on the stone of triumph. Yeah.
Much bigger.
I don't know where I'd put this one. Definitely I agree with you. It was more accurate. In some ways it was so accurate that like the mistakes, or they might have been mistakes, the dramatic licenses stood out more. Because it was like, when at the start, when the candidate is kneeling, but they're kneeling so that their back is to the altar. Little things like that, like it sticks out more because you're so invested. Or, the
Also that the candidate was actually dressed as a full member versus being an initiate.
And the certificates looking so modern.
Well, maybe I have a hard time tracking down an old one.
Yeah.
I mean, permission to use an old one.
I'm surprised by that because I even know a few around here, they charge a lot of money for them, but there's a lot of pawn shops where they'll find the old school, the old school certificates, because people, they die and then their family doesn't know what it is necessarily, which, by the way, that brings up something I always tell people. You have a will, put in your will where you want your Masonic items to go, because more often than not, they tend to end up in a pawn shop if you don't. Or if you don't want it, if you have a will, just tell somebody, these items, take them to this lodge.
Or just, if you don't know, you can call Masonic Hall, Temple, whatever you want to call it, and just give them a phone call, like, I have some stuff.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of stuff will say which lodge it's from, so they just say this is from, say, Garden Lodge, even though Garden Lodge doesn't exist anymore. And they'll be able to track down somebody who might be associated or affiliated with it.
Oh yeah, if you find yourself in possession of items, like a family member passes away and you just have them, you don't know what they are. If you see the square and compass symbol, it's a good clue. See anything about Freemasonry, find the hall, temple, lodge around you, give them a call. Because I hate for those things to end up in a pawn shop. And it happens, but it's nice to have them here if we can, or at whatever temple they belong to. And with that, we have to go to Essex. So, I'm gonna go, Igor's gonna walk in first, so if I get yelled at, Igor can take the brunt. But yeah, we're off.
Oh, the district meeting.
We're off to Essex for the district meeting. Because I'm super popular all the time.
I didn't bring my heretic hat. I have a Masonic Square and Compass heretic hat.
We'll bring it next time.